but sooner or later you'll get into it. Yes, ma'am? Not to get an idea. I very often will turn my back. I'm terrible. The American Kennel Club someday is going to fire me because I don't check my own dogs in. I figure the steward is there. I've got 175 dogs to do. I really should spend my time judging dogs rather than do you have the right number on. I generally turn my back on a class when it comes in because the dogs are not under direction and they're not at their best. And I don't want to have a bad idea about the dog. And I do go down and look at the class set up. And with very few breed exceptions now, I could make a cut right then and say, I want yours, and I want yours, and I want yours, and I don't want any of these, and I want yours, and I want yours. Put these over here. Take these other around the ring once. Wait a minute. Stop. Would you take your dog down? Yeah, you can put your dog. And get rid of those. But I'd be killed. That business of going down and looking at type first, does it look the way an English cocker should look? Then watching him go around the ring the first time, does it make the same picture in motion from the side that it made standing still? And then you're down and back. That's the way I judge a class. But you're getting ahead of me. Top line. The gently rounded croup. This is a gently rounded croup. Good girl. That's a gently rounded croup. This is a gently rounded croup. Good boy. Showmanship and presentation and let's win in this breed, that's a gently rounded croup. Has said to us, because we're not only thinking up here, we're conniving, let's make this croup not so rounded. Let's make it a little flatter. Let's build this in here so our tail looks like it comes right off the lip. Because we want this breed to be competitive on a group and best in show level. And we have changed that mainly with trimming. The gently rounded croup is still there, but we changed that mainly with trimming. We don't want a sharply angled croup. A sharply angled croup is restrictive. Go back to Stubbs and his, anatomy. If this croup is tipped this way, this dog, yes, can take a great stride forward, but it cannot come back behind the point of that croup because it stops it right there. So what have you got? You've got a dog that's taking a great stride forward, but its stride is incapable of finishing the arc. What you want ideally is a dog that can take the fewest steps to go the furthest distance, to put the foot there, to push off, and to come back in the same arc back here as it made there. That comes with a perfectly set croup. Anybody going to fight with me with that? Good. Yes?
Yes. I have something that was under tension and lack of training don't drive them out.
But what about how they look in the yard? Gotcha. Body compact and well knit. There's a compact and well knit type of body. He has a compact and well knit type of body. The thing that we must address here is that you don't want a hole in here. This whole assembly must be back far enough on the dog so that you have a forechest and you have a fill. Now, not to be critical, please, Gene, don't kill me. One of the things that you get on many of your reds is a slightly forward front assembly. It's a good front assembly. It's just placed on the body a little forward. There is no hole here, but there's not a lot of forechest. That the type of front that we see here with this forechest bone and that amount of forechest, I think probably is more indicative of the party color and roan type of cocker than the front that we have here. I'll deal with both of these fronts equally. The front that I will not deal with is a front that looks magnificent and generally has a very long neck, and it's a very racy dog with a very long head and a lot of angulation out behind and a beautiful forechest that when you put your hand on it, there's nothing but hair. And you get back in here before you find dog. What you need in a cocker is forechest. What you need in a cocker is some beast out behind the tail set. Brisket reaches to the point of the elbow. On some of the extreme dogs, the brisket is here, the elbow is here. As a matter of fact, what happens is on some of the extreme dogs, the front leg is very far forward because this forearm is short and straight and hangs down here. That leads to this no brisket out in front. And they say, and it's shallow besides. Well, it's not really shallow besides. The depth of the body is fine. It's the elbow that's in the wrong place. The elbow is out in front of the dog, rather than being tucked back here where it belongs, where the point of your elbow and the floor of your chest have a very happy nodding acquaintance right there. Where are we? Back short and strong, loin short. We did that with her, broad and very slightly arched. Croup gently round. Tail docked, set on to conform to croup. We've discussed trimming to just to raise the tail set a little bit. We do not want, yeah, you can get a couple of male cockers and get in the ring and say, she's my bitch. No, the hell it is, it's my bitch, and get their tails up this way. But you don't want to either see a dog set up this way, nor do you want to have a tail carried and in the ring when moving this way. This very often when I see a low tail carriage, they're wrong in croup and they cannot finish their arc. That bothers me. A low tail carriage, a very rounded croup with a low tail set and carriage. I don't like it. I don't like it. It disturbs me on several accounts. It's not a merry cocker. The croup is wrong. The tail set is wrong. Generally, I'm not getting any finishing kick behind. The English cocker is moderately angulated. Yes and no. Nobody's going to find a 90-degree angle in most any breed of dog today. Many people have gotten into this and talked about it, and the engineers amongst us have said, you know, 100 degrees probably is more like it. What is very, very important is that the length of the shoulder and the length of the forearm be the same or very close to it, and the top of the shoulder and the elbow be in a straight line. You find dogs who carry their heads forward, who have a straight shoulder, comes right up here. They have to carry their heads forward because they don't have the liberty to get it back and have mobility. They have a long forearm, it's tucked under here. That dog has a very bad front, just as bad as the dog that has a perfectly straight. There's no bend in here at all, and all of this is out in front. Both fronts are incorrect. The only correct front for the breed is close to the same length of shoulder and forearm, and the assembly put on the dog so that you have some chest out in front, and that the top of the shoulder and the elbow are right in a straight line. Of course, the shoulders, when you look at them from the front, you don't want to see a big bulging shoulder. You want to see a nice flat shoulder and a pretty front. You get dogs that are badly made in front and they get a big overlay of muscle and fat on here. That's from pounding, and it's not efficient movement. The forelegs are straight, you just saw that, with bone nearly uniform in size from elbow to heel. Elbows set close to the body. Pasterns are nearly straight, but not so that we got post-war English cockers that came over that looked like they had Springer very close behind them because they had fronts like that and very often would knuckle over. They went beyond that. We got back to our bladed bone and our just slightly bent pastern, which gives cushion to the dog's spring when they move. Feet are proportioned to size to the legs. They're hard as hell to trim. You want them round, but not stubby round. You want them with a little two toes out in front here. You want the shape to show. You've got to take careful care of your feet if you want to have them be beautiful show feet. You've got to take the hair out from underneath the pads and keep it out. You have to cut their nails and keep them cut, and you have to practice just how to make that foot look like that. Stand up, good boy. I mean, this just doesn't come from one day spent on the table. That's a lot of work to get those legs trimmed and those feet done about. Sir, ma'am.
What about the nip and toe
because judges say your breed is hard enough to do. I'm not a vet. What is this business about this? It's not a missing toe. What is this business about a toe? Fortunately, because of Mrs. Forsyth, who was then Miss Camp, Mrs. Clark, who was then Miss Rogers, and Bonnie and her disciples, the English Cocker today is presented as you see these English Cockers presented. They're trimmed. The days of Enniskill and Jippo, his front legs were that big round with hair, and he had his feet just trimmed around like an American Cocker's. Once we got hair, we didn't want to cut it off. Because a little goes a long way. The dogs today are presented pretty much the way you see these dogs, and all over the world. Australia, Buenos Aires, Sweden. It's wonderful. It really is. Yes? Some of them are, ma'am. They're just a little bit more English trimmed on their hocks. I'm talking about the cleanliness of their legs, the fact that we don't have so much coat all the way around that you can't see that they're a clean-legged dog. I'm sorry. I made a generalization, and the English and the Australian dogs and the Swedish dogs are trimmed closely here. They don't have a lot of hock to heel hair, which is very pretty. Yes?
It is also in the British standard that they're clean from the hocks down, which doesn't allow for this hair to lie over the...
Right. From the hocks down. But you do have quite a bit of drape there. Yeah. And you can show them in this country without this, and they have been shown and successfully shown that way. But once again, this is hair. This is not bones. This is not muscles. This is hair. This is presentation. And the only thing that I'm thanking God for is that we're looking at clean-legged dogs that you can see their shape with very little over-coating and over-draping. Yes?
About the extreme importance of the muscle on the second thigh.
Not only on the muscle on the second thigh, the muscle throughout the dog.
But on the second thigh, I find it so often in American English Cockers. Too slight.
Too slight.
We in England want a very, very firm and pronounced muscle on the second thigh.
And you have it mainly,
You are getting it now.
but you mainly have that in your solids more strongly than you do in your party colors, don't you?
No, you have it in
So,
fine
some of them. Some of them.
the best.
Yeah.
The best at it.
But Starshine didn't have it. Starshine did not have it, and she did a lot of winning.
Yes, but we didn't agree.
Exactly. But she did a lot of winning. It's a problem in all countries as to how much exercise, how much muscle you breed for, because the amount of muscle is just as much bred for as a head type and so on. And to push, exactly. Exactly. And it says second thigh is well muscled and approximately equal in length to the upper thigh. Once again, you've got this nice proportion here of shoulder and forearm. You should have the same here from your hip joint to your stifle joint and from your stifle joint to your hock joint. Many American Cockers are very short from here to here and excessively long from here to the hock joint, which pulls their hindquarters way out from under them and leads to all kinds of things like crabbing, going sideways, slipping stifles, and a variety of things. Let's not have this happen to our breed. Be good. Hocked pad short, feet is in front. Coat, I think we've discussed coat somewhat in here. If you have coat questions, would you ask me that now? Because I'm running way over time, and my pay is going to be docked.
You're losing your help soon.
And I'm losing my help soon. This is gorgeous hair. This is gorgeous coat. This is something you're not going to find very often in a party color. You know, this lady doesn't stand there with a stone or her fingers or whatever to make this hair be like this. This hair is like this. And reds, in my day, had 4 hairs on the rest of them, just exactly like the party colors had 4 hairs. The only dogs that were heavily coated were the blacks and the very dark blue roans. Yeah.
pull them down.
Well, but that happens with everything because in party colors, a 6 or 7 month old puppy, maybe you want to show it at the specialty show, you've got to cut that hair or find some way to kill it. And I'm not kidding you. Percy Roberts told me a long time ago, he said, mix equal parts of turpentine and milk and put it on the coat, and he said in 3 days you will be able to pull it. It made dogs who were susceptible very, very, very red and raw of skin. But if you cut it down somewhat and just put a little bit of turp to a lot of milk, you can urge that puppy coat to go. But it's not something that you should try if it doesn't work and you can't show it for a while.
People that want their baby puppies to look like adult trim.
Well, exactly. What do you want for my life? Get down there. No, she was now. Stay there. This coat has been pulled, not cut. All of this is pulled. It's a pain in the neck. It's not been stoned either. This is a pulled coat. All of that fuzzy stuff, or most of it, is gone. This puppy obviously has had a great deal of attention paid to her coat. It's gorgeous hair. I'll bet she didn't look like that 3 months ago. Let me talk to you a little bit about this young lady. Because party color markings can give you a fit. And here we have an openly marked party color. Bitch. A lot of very pretty things about her. She's got a pretty head, a decent top skull, nice kind of a shoulder, pretty tail set, pretty outline. And you see, gee, that's pretty. And then you look at the other side, and you say, my God, that solid color leg, that kind of does all of these things very strangely. You can get that solid color leg up here. You can get a black leg and a white leg. You're not going to win with that dog under anybody that doesn't know party color animals. I did 484 whippets at the National 2 weeks ago, spread over 3 days. And believe me, I saw whippets in my sleep for several days after that. And invariably, I do whippets on a table. I would look at a whippet, and I'd walk up to it, and I think, whippet complex here, and I'd go around to the other side, and sure enough, on the off judge's side would be beautiful markings. And on the on judge's side, you'd have a dip in the top line, you'd have no marks at all, and the dog looked yay long. You have got to be very, very careful about the tricks that are played on your eyes.
How do you feel about an exhibitor who is aware of that and reversing the position to give you the right side?
Depends on how I got up in the morning as to whether I want that person to judge my dog for me or not.
Wouldn't you say, though, that there aren't as many as you knowledgeable about doing that as there are?
Well, that's what you're here for. That's what you're here for. This is what, you know, you're supposed to take the word.
We are about to pass the plate.
This is a terrible color. And most people, when they get a great one in the litter that's this color, say, oh, God, I got a blue roan and tan, and its father was Jesus Christ, and its mother was the Virgin Mary, but it's blue roan and tan. What am I going to do with it? It's become more socially acceptable. It's held trim because this is always dark, this is always light. They always look like they're coming at you with paddles on their front legs instead of feet. This changes the expression totally. You know, get a person in to judge the breed that has never seen one of these little mothers before, and they say, oh, oh. It's very difficult.
You don't tend to look so sweet.
No. No.
You talk about the face planting for the blue roan and tan.
Don't have to talk about it. Look at it. Does that look like any hound you ever saw? You've got to go beyond that. You've got to look at that head. You've got to have the guts and the fortitude and the mental ability to block out that color and say, that's a very pretty face. You're used to it.
Talking about another dog that got killed in film. He was the stone, but
See, you're learning.
I mean, it looks like the dog's been clipped because the long hairs.
But this
This has got longer hair, but
Yeah.
you see so many of them that, you know.
but you learn to use it with
Well,
sense.
I know, I pull it, but sometimes you look back and a dog, you know, and.
No, but you can take and pull and
Use the stone then?
you can use it on this junk here, or
On
to
the black,
or to
but you don't use it like the American Cocker people on the top and stuff like that.
no. You want a natural looking coat if it's at all possible. And the thing that you can do with the stone is to stone your puppies, and then take care of the new hairs that's coming through, hoping that the stone is just going to get rid of the junk.
Maybe I'm using it too hard,
No.
but I feel like it's taking the length off and the dog looks like, the roning doesn't come through like roning,
Right.
it looks like you shaved it with a 7-blade.
Okay, but then do it 3 months before you want to show the dog.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Okay, I got you, because I don't know, I stone.
And stroke. Don't.
Yeah. Well, the real stones are the things that they use for the wood, the black ones, not the. Yeah, it's not that plastic stuff. I know. Yeah.
Got a hand up? Yes, ma'am. No, not really. But you see, you have no way to say to somebody, this dog is disqualifiable because of the way it's trimmed. You can stand there as you're going over them and say, or you can, you know, they learn. There's a very famous American cocker handler in this country who has a dog that's doing a tremendous amount of winning. He didn't have any more hair on the dog's back than I've got on the back of my hand. Shut up. The dog never won under me. About 3 months ago, I was doing a specialty show so far away from his home area that when he turned up, I thought he'd lost his passport. And I thought, why is this man doing this? This dog has never won a thing. Plopped the dog up on the table, and I thought, Jiminy Christmas, it's real hair. And he won the specialty show. See? Ah, very recently. Hands. The gait, you know, I'm not going to get into gait except to say they should have an easy way of going away from you, not cowhock, not butt wide. You should see the pads of their feet when they come back. The tail should be up. They should go from the side with extension in front, and I don't mean this kind of extension. I mean an easy opening of the front leg, as though they didn't even have to think about it. The hind foot coming and taking over the paw print of the front leg that it's displaced. The top line staying firm, the head being held in a natural fashion, the tail coming up nicely, and it should come back at you once again, perfectly smooth in here, and the front coming at you in a very gentle, easy manner. We're going to see a lot of dogs move later on. I'll be around. You can ask me anything you want to then about the dogs, which I will try to discuss with you in a positive fashion, because I don't want you going back and saying to my best friend, boy, you should hear what Annie said about your dog, okay? Motion, I didn't want to take time for motion today because they said I had an hour. I've now been blurping out here for an hour and a half, and I still have a couple of more things to say to you. We'll talk about motion as the day progresses, with your permission. Is that okay? And the temperament. English cockers didn't start off in life wanting to be show dogs. We've made them show dogs. You start when they're 5 and a half, 6 weeks old. They've got to have names before their eyes open. You've got to break them up from their litter mates very early so they take you as leader of the pack, not their litter mate that's leader of the pack. You've got to lead break them early. They've got to look up. If you get an English cocker that never looks all the way up at you and only looks at your knees, sell it. In order to have show dogs, you've got to really, really, really work at it. You just cannot have them grow up in a kennel like Topsy and have them get out and show like gangbusters. They just won't do it. They're too smart for that. You know, I can remember the old Comanche dog who he and I did a lot of winning together, and he got to a point of where I'd have him all set up, and the judge would say, I'd see him go down and back. Those were down and back days. They never watched him go from the side. And I'd walk up to the judge, and Comanche would look at me, and he'd say, you go down and back. I'll wait for you. Let me have... Right. Right. Let me have questions now for this part of it. I'll be here all day. I will continue to answer nicely posed questions whenever you have them. Yes, ma'am. Sir. Not. They make them a very difficult breed to judge. They look at the dog and they say, this head's too short. It looks not like an American Cocker. It doesn't look like an American Cocker. This is an English Cocker head. It's not long enough. Where did you get that in your head? The longer the English Cocker head, the better. That's not true. They are Cockers. They're not setters. What I've tried to do here with you people today is to give you some background, some thought, some ideas about the breed so that you, I hope now, understand a little bit more about the breed, and that your friends who give you these euphemisms, doesn't make any difference if they're long and back. It's an English Cocker. It makes a damn lot of difference if they're long and back. English Cockers are not meant to be, they're Cocker Spaniel. It's a very difficult breed for people to get into that have judged other breeds. They think it's difficult, and I hope I've made it less difficult for you today. Hands? Yes, sir. Right. I don't think you can. And I think when you do, I think when you see a hybrid black, you always know it's a hybrid black if you've been in the breed forever, because it's black, but it looks like a party color or a roan. The only place that I have ever seen blacks that were of straight black breeding that looked and showed like the best reds or some of the best party colors I've ever seen was in Buenos Aires. And those black dogs came in the ring, and they had some black, English-bred black dogs very often are very, very narrow in chest, and very tipped in croup, and they kind of go around the ring this way. They have gorgeous faces. These suckers came in the ring, and they had top lines, and they had tail sets, and they had attitudes, and they had reach in front, and they had drive behind. They were that good that I put one of them best in show at my show, and Jim put an English Cocker best in show at his show, and true to form, they were two different English Cockers, but I put up the daddy, and he put up the son. Question? Yes, ma'am. Or like they're doing this. It's a short forearm. It's their fronts are laid very far out in front of them, and they don't have that push, kick, and drive, God bless you, that you like to see. Yes, ma'am. Go to Buenos Aires. I don't have a clue, because everybody that has seen the tape that we did in Buenos Aires, they have, Jim's dog unfortunately died, but they have made all kinds of noises about getting frozen sperm up from down there, but puppies in this country by that dog are not registerable because he's not registered in the United States, and Argentina is a second-class registry body. It would have to come around by. But to write to those people and to get pedigrees and to see what those pedigrees, it's Lacranza, and it's Lacranza mixed with their reds and blacks, and whatever happened, it nicked like crazy.
Well, it seems to me that this is a curious system that's been fluctuating, acceptable or not acceptable to do hybrid breeding.
Oh, it's perfectly acceptable to do it. I mean,
Sort of when it varies, what would you suggest to improve fronts on blacks other than breeding to other colors?
I think I'd go into. I think I'd go very, very, very strongly into the reds who have the nice forearms and the balance in there. And why don't you sit down while I'm talking about you? Sit down, princess. I think I'd go into the reds and see if, because the red-black cross is compatible, and see what that did for me. And remember, you're breeding for one thing. You're going to get a whole bunch of others. So think about the bones and what they're doing and why they're doing it. Yes, sir. Inconsistency between angulation at both ends. They've got to do something. They've either got to pull high, they've got to go sideways, they've got to paddle. The business of rolling. You find puppies that'll roll while they're trying to get their foot timing. That's something that puppies learn. Yes, ma'am.
But when they're hybrid blacks and then they breed on, you breed back to runs, do you call them hybrid runs?
No,
Why?
because they don't carry for black. Blacks carry for blue. The main thing that you do, if you're trying to improve blacks, it's one thing. If you're trying to, for years I've thought about breeding to a red dog that Laddie Carswell showed that I was very, very, very high on. And I said to Jim, we're too old to get into this. Because if you breed a party color to a solid color, it's like almost like breeding two different breeds. First thing it does is to screw up, pardon me, mess up your roaning pattern that you've wanted forever. You know, here we're talking about modern day English cockers